They want to build a pulp mill. Can you believe it? Not where it should be, not using world's best environmental practice, but in the beautiful Tamar Valley. And a threat is this magnificent Tasmanian wedgetail, one of the 6 largest eagles on the face of the planet. 2.2 metres in wingspan. I can't reach that far. Its chances of going to extinction are 65% as things stand. Cut the forests, as is targeted for the pulp mill, that becomes a 99% chance of extinction. What price? On Australia's grand wildlife, Mr. Howard. What price, Mr. Rudd? 0. You don't count them in at all. And yesterday, we had this travesty of an environmental impact statement saying you can go ahead with the Traveston Dam to flood the Mary River because the alternatives would be more expensive. Now, I asked you to look through that environmental impact assessment and see what value is put on Queensland's natural heritage. Anna Bligh thinks it's great. Maybe Peter Garrett will come up and say, as he did about the pulp mill, he's perfectly comfortable. But the reality is that that wondrous natural heritage in the Mary River system and the Great Sandy Strait is calibrated at 0. It is worthless to Anna Bligh. It is worthless to the current government. The challenge to Malcolm Turnbull is to not do a pulp mill on the Traveston Dam, but to protect the Mary River. And as Larissa's just said, there are better environmental alternatives. The Greens option wasn't even looked at in that EIS. The alternatives for rainwater harvesting. We will put a tank into every backyard in Australia, not just in Queensland. Gathering the stormwater, improving the reticulation so you don't lose, recycling, reusing. If they can do it in Austin, Texas, why can't they do it here? Well, at stake is the lungfish. The government says it can climb a ladder. Well, Anna Bligh, why don't you give them bicycles? They could cycle round. What we know, Larissa tells me, is that at the Paradise Dam, where 43 attempts by the lungfish to get up this ladder system failed in all except 7 occasions. That is a phenomenal failure for one of the world's most interesting, because you know, the lungfish brought out of the ocean onto the land its spine. And we human beings have inherited that spine. Not down at Parliament House in Brisbane or in Canberra. There are exceptions. But it's part of the wonder of human existence. And what about the farmlands? We're in a world which once had a 60-day storehouse of extra food for its people. It's down to 4 days and diminishing. We're facing climate change, massive drought, not just in this continent, but right around the planet. Huge storms, rising sea levels, maybe 4 to 5 metres by the end of this century, and a vast increase in population. Do we not have the collective intelligence then to say where you've got rich food-producing farmland, you keep it because it's worth its weight in gold for humanity's future? Economically, magical country. But in terms of human intelligence, we must keep it. No, says Anna Bligh. No, I suspect will say John Howard. No, I suspect will say Kevin Rudd. Flood those hundreds of farms. Because it's an easy fix. It seems like a big answer. It's not. They haven't taken into account climate change for a water-thirsty southeast Queensland where the government at both state and federal levels has been asleep at the wheel these last decades. Well, I want to come back to the Senate. I've got 3 fellow senators, they're all women, by the way. We're a 75% female party. Yeah, you know, we haven't got to set a 35% limit and then fail, or a 40% limit then fail. And wouldn't it be fantastic to have Larissa, Senator Larissa, join us? I can think of nothing better than to have Senator Larissa Waters join me on the Senate benches after July the 1st, 2008. Now, people have said to me, oh, well, I don't want to waste my vote. Because if you vote for Greens, the big parties tell us, it's a waste of vote. No, it is not. Voting Green is double value voting. In the lower house, and we've got great candidates right across this state and the country in the lower house. If you vote one for the Greens and your candidate doesn't get up, it goes over as a whole vote to the big party candidate of your choice. But in the meantime, your voting Green has sent a message to the next government about climate change, about the Mary River, about Tasmania's forests, about funding schools and hospitals. It's double value voting. And then you get to the Senate, where the Howard government's been in control, using it as a rubber stamp to put through the obnoxious work choices legislation, sell up Telstra. That Senate needs to be rescued for Australia and turned back into the House of Review, the backstop for the Australian people. How do we do that? Well, we've got to win 3 seats off the coalition across Australia in the mainland states, and one of those is Queensland. This is pivotal to rescuing the Senate and having the House of Review return to the Australian people out of the clutches of big parties with majorities in the Senate and therefore sidelining it in its time-honoured role. So when it comes to the Senate, it is critical that voters know they have their backstop here to the Me Tooism lookalikes of the big parties. It is essential on November the 24th that Queenslanders vote one Green in the Senate, because that is voting for democracy. It's voting for a return of the Senate to the people. And we Greens will use that responsibility with great reference to the Australian people. Remember this, a balance of power doesn't give any party the right to dictate. It means simply that instead of one party determining what happens in the Senate, you have to have 2. Greens and Coalition, Greens and Labor. Or if it comes to raising politicians' salaries, Labor and the Coalition will get together. So this is a very exciting opportunity for Queensland to change not just Queensland's affairs for the better, but national affairs for the better. I'm very excited about this prospect. I'm delighted to be here in Brisbane again today on behalf of the Greens. I thank all you who are standing. I thank all you who are campaigning. This is an exciting campaign. And Larissa Waters offers us such an exciting bonus into the Senate. I look forward on election night to the numbers going up and Queensland's first Greens to represent this great sunshine state going on her way to Canberra to do the job she can do for all Australians. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the campaign launch today. Thank you for taking an interest and thank you for the efforts that you're putting in to get Larissa Waters elected into Canberra and to make a difference to this state. This brings us to the end of the campaign launch. Bob and Larissa will be taking questions for the media. Thank you very much. Thanks.